So he was insisting and going to my grandma and said, I want to be one of them. They have these nice uniforms. There's all these things happening. I want to be part of that. And my grandma never seen a university from inside, never saw a gymnasium from inside. She asked my father to go and get the globe and put the globe in front of both in the kitchen. And then she asked him one question. Please show me Germany. And my papa found Germany. And then my grandma said, do you believe that this little piece of the huge globe is capable of running the whole globe? If you believe so, you can join the Hitler Youth. If you don't believe it, stay out. My father stayed out. And we all, having kids, know how kids can be. They usually don't take the first answer as a permanent one. But he never joined them. Let me introduce you to yourself. When I was a little older, I was already out of university. I was visiting my sister in South Africa. She did her practical year as a doctor in the late 80s. And in the late 80s, there was this system called apartheid, as you know. The German industry was able to set standards when the apartheid regime asked Volkswagen, BMW, Daimler to come and build plants in South Africa. The German industry said, we can do so. But please accept, when we enter your country and we build a plant, that your laws end where our plants start. Because we, from principle, believe that there's no difference between black and white. And that the standards we enjoy having in Germany and in other parts of the world, that these standards will make you, South Africa, even grow further. And the rest is history. The theme of my data, which I want to share with you, if I can share them, is a guy with 5 letters in his name, capable of changing what we accept as our compass. I had this question already once. We run in Davos during the World Economic Forum the SDG lab since years. And in 2017 I got this question, aren't the SDGs now over with him in White House? And back then my response was, why are you asking this question? Are you not aware that there were 193 heads of states, September 25, 2015, standing up and saying, yes, these 17 goals, these sustainable development goals, including their 169 targets, will become a reality in our country no later than December 2030. How can you make somebody sit down again after they stood up? It might cause a delay, but it will not stop everything. So let me share with you my understanding of how I look at the world. As I went to school around the corner in Kronberg, which belongs to Hessen, I can disclose that I have a Hessisches Abitur with weak results in maths. So please apologize when I come to the conclusion whether a glass is half full or it is half empty. From a maths point of view, it's most likely the same. But there's a gigantic difference, trust me. And I prefer being in the camp saying the glass is half full. Few disclosures on the data I'm going to share with you. As you can see, I'm a little seasoned. I'm coming from the last millennium. We still use analysts to do the type of research we do. When the wall came down dividing East and West Europe, East and West Germany, I was asked by Helmut Kohl whether I could create a research institute which provides insight. What do people see when they read their daily media, when they watch the evening news, when they listen to radio? What do they see? And based on what they see, we can then come to the result, what are they not seeing? But first, let's make visible what is out there. So this is what Media Tenor does with human beings. AI is not that far. We capture every story in the newspaper, every report in TV or radio, and we are looking into the topics, into the region, into the institutions, whether this report is positive, negative, etc., etc. And we are doing it in a scientific way, so everything is public. You can go on our website to understand the methodology. We disclose the intercoder reliability results. And we do the same now since 2001 with annual reports of stock-listed companies, where my team reads line by line, how does the chairman, how does the CEO, how does the CFO explain how they spent their money last year and what they plan to do in future. So the non-financials, that's my home. The financials, that's your home. And I was told when I started with this, why do you bother? Nobody reads the text part of an annual report. But I said, are you sure? Because at the end of the day, we all know that you can put numbers in one direction or in the other. But when the chairman, when the CEO put in writing and sign, and that is why I'm looking into the annual report and I'm not looking into the sustainability report. The annual report is legally binding. And if you write in your annual report that you pay men and women the same, you rather do it, because it can get pretty cost intensive. This as a little disclosure to our methodology. And now let's look into results. This is the type of research you probably do. You see the headlines, and then you can get influenced by the headlines, getting the impression climate and being interested even in these topics you are most interested in is no longer trendy. Munich Re is stopping, they are no longer doing this, they are walking out. This is what you probably hear when you talk to your friends. Let me start with first results, because as our friends from VBA started when there was almost no chance to start. They started 2019 and 2020, then COVID hit. The blue bar gives you an idea how, on this side, German TV, in the middle UK TV, BBC, and to the right, American primetime news were covering COVID in the first 6 months. And the orange bar gives you an idea the first 6 months of President Trump in office. To put into perspective, Trump is like a hurricane, but he's not yet like COVID. And we all survived COVID, as we know, to a big surprise when we remember how the reporting started. And I was part of Pope Francis' COVID Commission, so I can tell you how it started. When we zoom closer, does climate matter? You can see there are over times, and this is every day since 2012, every day, every story analyzed. Are they covering the topic of climate, yes or no? And you can see the green line is BBC. You can see yellow, that's Swiss TV. The deep blue is the German primetime news. And then the black line is US. US TV was not very engaged with the topic, but when we did the US election analysis for Harvard, as we do every 4 years since 2000, we take a different perspective. We are not that much obsessed about the two candidates. We are most interested in what is interesting for the people. What are they worried about? And you can see inflation, I will come to that later on, was top concern number one. But you can see climate, a topic which was not that strong in the primetime news in America, still among the top 10. And that became part of the DNA. You can't take it out of the heads only because one guy is now entering White House and another one not. It's in us. And that is the influence of media, and that's the influence of what we do as companies. You can see the difference between Fox and CBS. But if you take one number away from today, or let's say two, and one of them should be the 1.5% mark is everything what you need to know when it comes to media impact. If the reports about your company, if the reports of climate, if the reports of anything is above 1.5%, then my grandma is starting to talk with her friends about this topic. If the report is under 1.5%, it is almost like not existing, which can be sometimes frustrating. Because, for instance, you publish a new book, and you can see the book review here and there, and you get the idea you're almost as known as Michael Jagger, because maybe the book review made it on page 13 in your newspaper, with a photo of you. But if these book reviews don't add up to 1.5% of all the news out there in a given media outlet, it's as if there is not one review. This is what we call the awareness threshold. So if you try to understand, is here a trend? Start asking, are they talking about it above or underneath the awareness threshold? And if it's under the awareness threshold, don't get too nervous. It's not a trend. Having said this, look to the right. Fox. Aren't they the ones who say there is no climate change? 2.4% of their coverage is about something which is obviously, from their point of view, not existing. It's above the awareness threshold. CBS, 11.2%. In the pie, you can see over all these years under the Obama administration, under Trump 1 and Biden, the reporting stayed negative. So what the people saw was nothing to build trust, that no matter whether one side or the other was trying to do something related to climate change would help the reality of the people. That's what they see day by day by day. This is now closer to your realities, and we spoke about inflation. The yellow or the orange color gives you an idea above the 1.5% or not. Now you understand why inflation was the key topic 1 year ago in the US campaign. Clearly above, in a negative tone. If you are not offering something, you won't get into White House. You can see it in different aspects. You can see that, as I said earlier on, COVID was logically far above the awareness threshold, but now gone. There are two realities. One is the reality my father was always warning me, that's TV. When I said I want to become a journalist, he said, that's fine, but don't do TV. You are more familiar with these guys. This is the Wall Street Journal, the FT, and the German Handelsblatt. We analyzed since 2000 every single quote. When an analyst gets asked by a journalist and gets published in Wall Street Journal, FT, or Handelsblatt, would you recommend buying this stock or selling it? My team is interested in the why. Why should we buy? Why should we sell? And as we read carefully, we can then categorize it around the ESGs or the SDGs. Does Trump matter? when it comes to recommendations, buy or sell, related to buy or sell because of climate, because of ESG matters. It's stable. So where are we? And now the door opens and less drama and less negativity, because now it's about you. This is who you are. I was senior advisor to the Director General of the UN, and in 2016, we said, well, we said it already 2014, but we said, let's wait until the big boys, the top 500 stock-listed companies, the moment they have to disclose their annual report for the year 2016 to be fair, because as you remember, the heads of state said the SDGs are the new compass, so it would be unfair to analyze the annual report 2015 when it wasn't clear. So we said, let's start with 2016, and I presented the results 2017 at the UN in New York, and out of all the 110,945 statements published in your annual reports, there was this small number by German companies, others were already more advanced, where they were explaining what they had done or what they had not done along the 17 SDGs or the 169 targets. Now look at this, 2020. We are already above the 10,000 mark. But over the last 4 years, amazing. When I was introduced to the Sustainable Development Goals, my first reaction was, what did these heads of state smoke the night before they got together? Because how on earth can you declare zero poverty? How can you declare men and women paid the same? I was working already for Kofi Annan when he announced the Millennium Development Goals. You remember his tone? His tone was, let's reduce poverty. Now, that feels like the United Nations lingo, right? Reduce, what can that mean? But now, 2015, they say zero poverty. That's something what my grandma gets. Zero poverty is zero poverty. It's not let's reduce or something, let's negotiate. No, zero is zero. And now look what you have done. From 2020 to 2024, you jumped to the 50,000 mark. That's a number, can be meaningless. But, well, let me go one step further, and I get back to the other one. There were always others who were winning in the SCR 500, in the SDG commitment report, which we published and where we gave the data to the president of NASDAQ to turn that into an own fund. Now look at this. These are preliminary data, so we shouldn't celebrate Volkswagen now because it's not the final result, because there are still annual reports coming out. But all the winners from the years before, they are the orange ones. Schneider Electric, CaixaBank, Inditex, Kering, they were the ones the years before whom we gave the award for the most broad reporting on SDGs when they tried to explain to their shareholders how they made money and how they are going to operate in future. No need to make photos. The slides will be yours. We will share them with you afterwards. This is mind-blowing because we all know what Volkswagen went through. And the normal reaction of a company like Volkswagen would be, after all their hurricanes, let's hide away. Let's stop this whole endeavor. No, Volkswagen goes the other way around. We got caught by something what we should not have done, and now we disclose almost on all of the 17 SDGs because transparency and reliable data is the only path to get back trust. The slide I skipped before is the slide of this SDG commitment report. When you analyze 500 companies stock listed, line by line, as we do, you get certain results. And one of the biggest problems when I stood up in New York to present these data, the friends from Silicon Valley picked the phone, the legal department called Mr. Guterres' office and said, "You promised there will be never ever a traffic light system. Stop these UNCSI guys, because why do we pay 10,000 every year for Global Compact when you are now creating this type of transparency?" The reason for me to come up with a traffic light system was, well, if 193 heads of states agreed to the SDGs as a new compass, why not starting to create transparency? Who is publishing in a legal binding document anything related to the 17 SDGs or the 169 targets? So all the 500 who had one or two or more of the SDGs disclosed in their annual report got a yellow or got a green. But those stocks with not one word on water, energy, gender equality, whatever. No word, to me, means we are not part of what 193 heads of states said that this is the compass. Because they were not part, we colored them red. We didn't say, we think this is a bad company, this is a good company, that I can't say. But if you are not willing to disclose in writing and then signing, how are you dealing with water? How are you dealing with energy? How are you treating men and women? Then at least I, as a researcher, should be allowed to make these results public. Al Berkeley, former president of NASDAQ, was extremely interested in the data. He gave it to the guy who managed the UN pension fund with 68 billion, not the smallest one. And they put little money into it and said, well, let's buy those which are green and yellow. They were not allowed to buy a stock which was red. And ever since this started, the SCR 500 outperformed the MSCI World or comparable offerings. Is that a message, yes or no? I think that's a message, a pretty strong one. The reason why I did it was because I would like to understand what makes your heart beat, what makes you tick as BASF or as Fresenius. Out of all the 17 SDGs, where are you most committed to and why? And are you able and are you interested in making this known, not only to your investors, but probably to everyone? Because aren't we in the war of talent? Aren't we in need to get good conditions in the financial markets? The moment these people and all our stakeholders start to understand what we are interested in, so that we start putting it in writing and we sign it, that gives us profile. And profile is what we need. We can do it for all of these SDGs. You can start making an SDG 13 fund. And then you focus investing on those stocks most committed. There always need to be additional contributes to it, but that can be a start. And to me, it's a pretty valuable one. And we can see my daughter, she loves life underwater. And when we started with this in 2017, I called my bank because Swatch, our Swiss company, was the one most committed to SDG 14. And I thought I can buy her a stock and I would put it into her room and nail it over her bed so she can sleep in the knowledge I'm invested in the ones who do life underwater. And then the guys from Raiffeisen said, from which planet are you coming? You can no longer buy a stock in the sense of that you get this piece of paper. So we need to think about other solutions. But I'm deeply, deeply convinced that this is an ideal way to connect and bind with your target groups. You can see the results. That's, as you can imagine, with 169, I can give you all the details. This is what is really fascinating for today. SDG 16, building trusted institutions, isn't that, out of all the SDGs, the ones where we would feel uncomfortable? And now you can see the DAX 40, already 1/3, with a pretty strong footprint. Can I continue? Oops. So, this is unexpected. Out of all the SDGs, I had expected, you pick water, you pick energy, you pick responsible consumption. But illustrating that you are working on regulations, that you want to be a trusted corporate citizen, who would have thought? Nobody saw these results. It's first presented today. What we do as a foundation, we try to get people together from the corporate sector, from schools, from foundations, to learn from lighthouses. And we do once per year the SDG Achievers Summer Academy. Because you can trust me, while I was only doing media tenor, I always felt miserable. Because all what we were able to do is we were showing media not doing their job. That's not always pleasant. Since I can work with the SDGs, my life changed. Because now I can bring people together around achievements. Because you would be amazed what is already out there. You will be fascinated what people are doing all around the globe. And your companies could be one of these lighthouses. So in case you are interested, please contact me. And my takeaway is businesses always lost momentum once they fell in the trap of reducing themselves to the business of business. Uncertain times are the best for entrepreneurs because they sharpen the senses and open doors to additional opportunities. Doors are open for those with the highest understanding of integrity and the ability to provide data-based evidence of common values. And last but not least, ESG, and since September 25, 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals are a robust compass for entrepreneurs acting in the spirit of Josef Schumpeter and Ludwig Erhard. They provided multiple options for reinvention. Those who are committed in a transparent way have a strong song dedicated to their sense of lighthouse building. You never walk alone. Thank you.
Many thanks, Roland. We have a few minutes for questions before we're entering to the next sessions. Who wants to break the ice? Asking Roland with his expertise.
And you need to do it now, because we are in uncertain times.
Aaron,
I can only
please.
stay until 12. I can't be here for all day.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation, which was both backed by data and also inspiring. It's hard to do two things at once, so that was wonderful. On the index, I saw that the comparison ran until 2021. In light of all the changes in markets over the last few years, would that look different today as opposed to through 2021?
Well, we started in 2017, and there were the ups and downs already back then. And what has happened since then, that whether it went down or went up, we always outperformed the MSCI World. So if we were going down, MSCI World went down as well, but they went down more than we did, and vice versa.
Dirk?
Yeah, thanks for a great presentation and for the surprising moment catching ourselves in, if you look at data compared COVID versus Trump, to see what the hurricane really is in current media. Maybe two questions. One is, could you relate your data to certain, let's say, things happening in one or the other company? So let's say change of leadership or something like this one. And the second one is, could you also, look into the glass bowl of making even more fuller than it has been before by prediction? Is there something you could also take some analysis to see what would happen next?
The scientist in myself would respond, there is no glass ball. But now with more than 30 years of doing this type of research, the biggest hope I have is from those which are not yet in the media. Why? Because my colleagues, I'm fifth generation journalist, my colleagues lost their job more or less by only looking into the negatives. This is what they believe sells their newspaper. But what I know from the SDG work is that if we start looking into Finland, if we look into Botswana, guess Botswana did their annual report as a country along the SDGs already 2017, at a time when Angela Merkel most likely was not even able to spell SDGs. There are countries around the world who are just booming on SDG implementation, and we have no idea. The largest industrial zone is not in Ludwigshafen in the world. The largest industrial zone is in Saudi Arabia, in Jubail. And these guys presented at our SDG lab in Davos, they are not losing one drop of water since years. In Saudi Arabia, I had not even a clue that Jubail is existing. So there is so much going on that my non-data part is extremely optimistic, but that's not the Glaskugel.
Richard.
Thanks so much for those insights. I have two questions. One is you stated that you flag some of the companies red that don't report on the SDGs. Do you look only on whether they link their data to the SDGs, or do you also cover when they report, for example, on water, but they don't link it to the SDG goal? How is that?
Yeah.
How is
thank
that
you.
done?
I was not precise. As I'm not a promotion guy of the United Nations, I was only interested in water, in energy, and paying men and women the same. So we would not categorize if they would say, and I know, dear teacher, that this is SG4 because we spend money on education. That's not our interest. You don't get goodie points if you then say, oh, this is, no. We look on the content side and then we aggregate accordingly. But as one of my not existing Glaskugel result, when we started in 2017, to our biggest surprise, already 70% of the stock-listed 500 companies, which was our universe, were referring to one or more of the SDGs. Since 2021, it's already 92, 93, and this has not stopped, as you could see from the trend. So the big boys, more or less, decided that the SDGs are a good compass, and they understood, let's play with it. What I would like now to see happening is that we find a way that we can introduce this as well to the SMEs, because, as you know, there are more SMEs than stock-listed companies. And if we help them to do this type of reporting without having to report 800 pages of supply chain, but if we do SDG type of reporting, 5 pages or 10, that's all what the world needs, because if you're committed to something in this sense, that's what we need. We need to see your commitment.
A final short one.
I had a second question, if I'm allowed. My second question was about, do you think that the media analysis is still relevant in times of social media when people are living in bubbles, and especially regarding the 1.5% threshold?
Thank you. If I would give a question back, you know the IFO index in Germany? It's a questionnaire done every month among entrepreneurs where they get asked, is your business going up or down? If I would ask you, can I, as the little kid here from Taunus, can I predict Glaskugelartig the IFO index? You would say, well, Now, what did he smoke, correct? Well, we do it since 30 years, and our ratio, I don't know if that term is the correct one, but our prognosis quality is 0.92. Since 30 years on predicting the consumer confidence index by looking into old school media. And the 0.92 was correct 30 years ago, as it is just last month. Why? Because, at least in this part of the world, the traditional classical media still set the tone. We call them agenda-setting media, no matter where and how you're consuming them. A lot are no longer doing this to consume. A lot are doing this, but they still go to faz.net. They still go to the traditional media to get this type of information. So therefore, we need both, and we are analyzing social media since 1996.
Roland, many, many thanks for these insights from the media perspective. Gives us still hope that the backlash is partly perceived at least, but not really going into the core of the DNA of companies to drive the sustainability agenda forward. Many thanks, Roland. Roland is still around. Please approach him directly if you have further questions.